Thanks for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo. We're Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Events. We have events throughout the Northwest and online. We're currently in Seattle, Portland, Salem, and Eugene. We have those throughout the year, and then we have the online events once a month. We interview our practitioners, our readers and healers, and also some of our vendors, so you get a chance to know who we are before you meet us at an event. At an event, there's often 30, 40, 50 or more of us, and so this is a way you get to know us each personally to help choose who you want to go see. So I'm here today chatting with Jessie Beyer. Jessie, it's great to have you.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
So please share with us a bit of what it is that you do. What do you offer at the events?
Well, I am an intuitive advisor and intuitive life coach. So I can do readings, but I can also do coaching to help people live a more balanced, intuitive, focused, centered life. So.
And I imagine, do you just flow very naturally of the intuitive part and more of the coaching part? Is it just a mix that comes up for you, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's people who definitely want just coaching, and so my coaching is more from an intuitive standpoint, and really more focused on, well, it's specific goals. It can also be, it's more focused on incorporating a more authentic you in everything that you do. So, but as far as my intuitive reading style, yes, it's just more, we have a conversation, we see what comes up for you, because I'm a firm believer in the information that you need to hear shows up when you need to hear it. So.
It's great. It's great. I know before we started chatting for the interview, we talked a little bit about clairs. Maybe could you say a little bit more about how the intuition works for you? And
yeah, so I mean, as far back as I can remember, I just knew things, and there was like no explanation as to why I would know that, which actually freaked out a lot of people in my family when I was little. So for me, my strongest clair is claircognizance. So it's, I tell people when they ask, well, what is that? It's almost like a direct download. So like when you're downloading a file off the internet, and it's just that fast. And then I do have some other clairs that come along with that. So I'll get clairaudience sometimes. But that's my most dominant. So.
And does I just do, do things appear for you when you first are connecting with someone as they're talking, like all these different kinds of things? Or?
Right. So, so a lot of times, especially if it involved me, it would be through dreams. So I'd have a dream, and then I'd go to school or work the next day, and someone would start talking to me, and I'm like, we've already talked about this. And they'd be like, no, we have not. I'm like, are you sure? Because, anyway. So it took me actually quite a while to realize that not everybody got that same sort of information all the time. So for me, it can be, as soon as someone starts speaking, I will get information. Or it can be, especially if they're not as open, then it sometimes just, I'll get like little snippets here and there as they're speaking. And so that becomes a bit of a challenge for me, because I'm not sure how all those pieces fit together when the information does come in. And then sometimes it'll just be, I'll be sitting at work or something, and I'll just get some information, and I won't know what that's about until something happens later in the day, and then I'll be like, oh, that's who that message is for, or that's the person that I was tuned into at the time. So yeah, it can be a challenge, but it's also a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun when I get stuff and people are like, how did you know that?
Yeah. So a couple different questions. I have questions on like the two. I think of it as like two sides. So one is,
Mhm.
have you ever done any limiting of what you know, and do you make choices about what you share, how you share, like, and what do those all look like?
Yeah, so I when I have started doing this as a living, I specifically asked my guides not to give me information that people weren't ready to hear. And that the information that they did give me, or whomever, it would be for the highest good of everyone involved. So I know there's others that will just tell you whatever, but I really feel that people who are coming to seek an intuitive advisor or a psychic or whatever they want to call themselves, they're doing it because they want something to help move them forward. And so if I was to just say, oh my gosh, you're going to die in a car accident, I mean, that wouldn't really help move someone forward. And in fact, it might paralyze them from making the decisions that they need to make in their life.
Yeah.
So I don't do that. And I've asked not to get that sort of information. And then, I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
No, it's great. You're really asking that. You're really answering both questions at the same
Okay.
time. So by having a bit of a filter on what comes in, you're trusting that what shows up is something that it's okay for you to share.
Right. Although I have gotten information about my neighbor, is a good example, that wasn't good information. I mean, wasn't good news for him. But I wasn't sure, because it wasn't anything that we were discussing at the time, and I just got this immediate flash that, oh no, that's really not going to happen. I didn't pursue that further to find out what that information was, because I didn't feel that, one, he'd be open to hearing it, and two, it was really for his own good. So in retrospect, it was information that was about a devastating diagnosis for him. But also a part of me sort of felt like he needed to go through that journey. And so it's not really up to me to say, hey, you're going to have this horrible diagnosis, because that was something that he needed to do all on his own.
Yeah.
It wasn't apparent to me at that time that that's what it was, but there was something that just said, you shouldn't say anything. So
It's a bit
so
of,
I trust my guides and the universe to make sure that I'm not doing any harm.
yeah. It's a bit of responsibility,
It
maybe, like,
is. It
yeah,
is.
to receive all the knowing and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And
what
a
to
lot
share,
of
when to
times,
share,
I don't
how
know
to share.
about for you, because I know you do it through eyes, but sometimes, you're just like, it's just a little snippet, and you're like, I don't even really know what that means, and I certainly don't know what that means in relation to this person. So until I have a little bit more information, I'm not going to say anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I know yesterday working with someone, I had like a feeling of something that I didn't know what words would express it well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I've not quite had that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always, since that's not my dominant clair, having that just a feeling, and then you're like, well, I don't understand what this is supposed to be.
Oh, yeah, 'cause I think of my knowing as mostly claircognizance too, but I guess, yes, the different flavors of what that is. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
fun. It's great.
Yeah.
And do people typically come to you with a specific question, or what do your sessions look like?
I prefer that they do, because I don't want to waste their time. I mean, they've obviously sought me out for something that they want to know about. So if they just say, if they just came in and they said, read me, I may tell them stuff they already know, and they'd be like, well, that's not really useful. So I prefer that they come in with some questions.
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
at least an idea of what they want to talk about. Because I really look at it as we're going to have a discussion and you're going to get some intuitive information. A friend of mine likes to say it either comes from you or through you, and it doesn't really matter. so, so that's sort of my style is, I might have some information that is from life experience that would be useful for you to hear as well. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be that it's, an intuitive thing.
yeah,
So,
that's great. Well, if people want to learn more about you, where do they find you on the web?
They can find me at serenityintuitive.com.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been lovely having you.
It's been a pleasure.
And for those of you watching and listening, you can find out more about us at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. Thanks so much.